watch up through Bayport. They are still on standby for hurricane force winds. Here's how the damage could stack up as far as the storm surge is concerned. The storm surge 8 to 12 feet possible, and it's going to be hitting at high tide, so that's going to be even on top of high tide. Potential damage is great, as well as 10 inches of rain. They now have a tornado watch in effect from Avon Park South in southern Florida. Here's the way the path looks. Monday morning it's going to come inland, scoot across the southern Florida, be out into the Gulf by Monday evening, continue on its way, possibly up into the Louisiana area by Wednesday morning. Again, this is the projected path by the National Hurricane Center. So for tonight, here on the first coast, we're not going to expect to see any of this. Only isolated thunderstorms blowing in off the waters with variable clouds. The overnight low 74 to 78 degrees. For tomorrow, partly cloudy. We're not going to see too much, just breezy conditions and some thunderstorms possible. Our high tomorrow 89 to 93 degrees. Out on the waters, this is where we'll see a bit of a difference. Winds will be picking up out of the east at 20 knots. Seas 5 to 8 feet and rough inland waterways. Again, the high tide is in the morning, and that is when landfall is expected in the southern half of Florida. It is early in the morning, and that's when the biggest storm surge could happen. Low tide at 11:20 tomorrow morning here on the first coast. Here's our extended outlook. You can see that temperatures for the rest of the week will be right around 90 degrees with summertime thunderstorms possible. And so as far as damage is concerned, a lot of folks in South Florida think about 1965 with Hurricane Betsy. That's considered the hurricane that caused the most damage in the United States with $1.4 billion. This one, though, is stronger. It's hitting the same place, going to be going up into Louisiana. Definitely potential to set a new record there.
And ABC News will be carrying live reports with updates about the hurricane beginning at 2 o'clock this morning. So good place to tune in. Thanks, Kristen. Talk about bad timing. Vice President Dan Quayle went...
Storms to threaten the continental United States this century. And threatening it is. Already the first winds at the edge of Andrew are coming ashore in South Florida. And the experts say before it's all over, winds of 130 miles an hour or more will batter the Sunshine State.
More than 1 million people have been evacuated from their homes along the coast, including Palm Beach, Miami Beach, and other communities. Authorities say residents have taken storm warnings seriously. Tourists have crowded airports and jammed the highways. ABC's Linda Patillo is at one evacuation center in South Florida and talked with us a little while ago.
The big question is South Florida prepared for a hurricane?
Some of their coverage during those crucial hours before the storm.
John Frankel was getting pretty good and wet, too.
Certainly was. Let's check in with Todd Tongan, who's in North Dade. How you doing, Todd?
Well, so far we're doing just fine, Dwight. I don't know if you know where we're located at, about 207th. The county line is at 215th. And we just about 5 minutes ago experienced a very heavy downpour, and then it's let up. So the rains are coming in the waves, such as the wind was coming just about an hour ago. It's coming in waves. Right now it's just a light rainfall, but we are expecting, obviously, some more torrential downpours. Oddly enough, there was a restaurant, one of our engineers, as he was coming in to set up, stopped at a restaurant right on County Line Road that was open and for business. About 20 people are...
Well, we are taking a feed, obviously, and having some problems with it from WPLG in Miami. I'm not sure if it's because of the storm or because of other technical problems that we're experiencing some difficulty. But we're going to go to a tape from earlier in the hours before the storm and see how...
25.4. I've kind of approximated what the eye would look like here. If I can just get back to my moat here. Here we go. Whoops. Sorry. Right there, if the eye is going along that, it's going to go right through the Perrine Cutler Ridge area. Now, that would be the eye, okay? Now, the worst damaging winds are, of course, just to the north of the eye, so we'll be looking at up in here in this region. This is where the worst winds would be, but probably a wider path than that, so we're going all the way from Perrine Cutler Ridge up to, say, over Key Biscayne and just about up to south of 836 a little bit, but actually the hurricane force winds, let me correct myself, go a little bit farther north than this, so we'd probably be looking at the worst situation somewhere in this yellow and blue area right in here, because the diameter of the eye itself is 10 miles and the hurricane force winds go out a little bit farther. So we might even be looking a little bit farther than this. I'm trying to get my scale. Forgive me, I just made this map a little while ago and I'm trying to get my scale right here. So right now it looks like this would be the worst area right here with the winds over 100 miles per hour perhaps. And then we get up here, and we're talking about winds perhaps 90 miles per hour, and then dropping off rapidly as we go north into Broward County. So I'm going to keep updating this, and again, I'm not picking on that particular latitude, but that's where it is. It may change. It may go a little bit north, may go a little bit south, and I'll refine that technique a little bit more, too. But it looks like near the center and just to the north is the worst part. I'm not saying that Homestead and Florida City and Key Largo isn't going to feel it either, because they'll be getting some strong winds and possibly some hurricane force winds, too. But the strongest winds are going to be north of the center, it appears right now.
All right, Don, thank you very much. And I am rejoined now by Ann Bishop. And Ann, right now, let's go out to Miami Beach, where Louis Aguirre is standing by. And I think the weather is taking a turn for the worse, is it not, Louis?
It certainly seems that way, Michael. It was shortly after midnight that I think we first started feeling the first effects of Andrew. The wind just started to pick up considerably. As does the surf. You can see the waves. I don't know if you can, Serge, can you pan over there and catch the pier over here at South Point Park? The waves just crashing onto that pier. I don't suspect it's going to be here after the storm, the full brunt of the storm hits. And the winds, we're told, are anywhere between 30 and 40 miles per hour. Those are tropical storm winds. And we can certainly and definitely feel that the rain is just starting to come down right now. Take a look at these palm trees over here. Look at what the wind is doing to that. Nasty weather. You wouldn't think anybody would want to be out in this weather, but we were just out on that pier, the same pier we were showing just a minute ago, and there are quite a few people gathered there, thrill seekers who want to see Andrew firsthand. Not a safe thing to do. We understand there are quite a few thrill seekers on the beach tonight who have not heeded those evacuation warnings. This is not a good place to be. As you can see, the wind is just starting to pick up even more and more as I'm talking to you right now. And, and this isn't the worst of it. This is only the beginning.
On that pier, if you can hear me, I know it's very noisy out there, but I've been out on that pier and on a very nice day, but when a little storm comes by, that is a wooden pier, and it gets a little slippery. I'm sure that right now, with the wind pelting down and the winds, I'm sure that's pretty dangerous out there.
Well, actually, the pier is the exterior of the pier. The exterior of the pier is wood, but there's concrete on there. It does get slippery, and there are rocks that try to protect it, but the waves are crashing up over the rocks and hitting the pier. So, yes, it is very dangerous, Michael. And as I said, there are a couple, at least 3 or 4 thrill seekers that have been out there waiting for Andrew to hit.
Well, they may get a real thrill if they stay out there.
I'm sorry?
I said they may get a real thrill if they stay out there too long.
Yeah, no thank you.
I should say not. And you watch out for yourself too, Louis.
Okay.
Thank you. Louis Aguirre reporting live from South Miami Beach, where the weather, as we can see, Ann, is...
getting nasty. It's even nasty here. It's getting pretty nasty outside. It's raining and windy. Linda Hutchinson is standing by at the Broward Center, and she has a report for us. Linda?
Well, I'm told, Ann, that about 21,000 people have now turned out to Broward shelters. They have room for 100,000 people. There are 37 shelters. 4 of them are no longer available. I'll tell you a little bit more about that a little later on. Of course, it does seem a little late to be turning out to a shelter, but they say they will keep the doors open for just as long as they can. So if you're a straggler and need to get over there, do it now. And this is what we found at a shelter that we visited a little bit earlier on tonight.
We have just opened the food line. Whoever is not eating, please line up outside in the food line.
Weather-wise, it might still be called the calm before the real storm, but shelter-wise, it's anything but calm.
The people are not under control. They're out of control, most definitely. And that's what makes it so difficult, because everybody is doing their own thing, and everybody's getting angry.
Well, maybe not everybody. Most are just trying to make the best of an uncomfortable and unfamiliar situation.
I've never been through a hurricane, honey, and I am petrified of it. I said, let me get out of that house where I was in. I got to go to a shelter. I didn't care where, just so long as it was to a shelter where I'd be safe.
And so much for those vacation plans.
We were hoping to spend the time on the beach, you know, sun, but didn't happen. It's not today. Hasn't happened yet.
Get yourself out of the house and to a shelter immediately.
Volunteers and staffers at the Broward Emergency Operations Center are still urging more people to evacuate to shelters and still answering non-stop questions.
They're getting a little bit more harried, a little bit more urgent now because we're getting really down to the nitty-gritty.
They say the most anxious conversations are with the elderly.
They like to give a very lengthy description of what they've done and how they've done it, and they want so badly to have someone say, you're going to be fine, nothing is going to happen to you.
Now, the shelter that we showed you in that piece was at Dillard High School. That has now been evacuated because of structural problems. I was told earlier tonight there was some concern because part of that high school is under construction, and I suppose they felt that perhaps that wasn't the safest place to be. All of the people who were in there have now been taken to another shelter. 3 of them are filled to capacity now. You might want to make note of these: Deerfield Beach High School, Sheridan Hills Elementary School, and Sheridan Park Elementary. We're also hearing, Ann, about the first power outage up here in Fort Lauderdale. It is reported on Northwest 33rd Street, 2 blocks west of 441. We don't know very much about it right now or how much of an area that it is impacting at the moment.
Well, it's probably wind damage would be my guess, Linda, because I don't think it's raining that hard in that area yet, although it is getting pretty nasty out. You know, it's interesting that you had told us in the beginning that they were repairing the roof at Dillard. I was surprised they had picked it for a shelter in the first place, because if it's not completed and you get strong winds, that roof's going to come right off.
Well, exactly, and there had been some concern and there was some doubt as to whether or not they were going to open Dillard High School at all as an evacuation center. At the last minute, they decided that they would go ahead and do it, and a great number of people turned out. There were more than 1,000 people there tonight, and then as soon as the winds picked up, I guess they started seeing that there were going to be problems there, which they had already anticipated to some level, and they just got out of there.
Linda, let me ask you, the young woman said that everybody was doing their own thing and that there was no control. What was happening that upset her? Because everybody seemed fine.
Well, I think that again, it was a very unfamiliar situation for everyone, and perhaps expectations were higher than what they actually found when they got to the shelter. Very few volunteers on hand to help control the crowds, and I think that perhaps a few people just lost their temper when things weren't going exactly the way they anticipated they were going to go at a shelter. But I think everybody has to realize they must be very patient. No one has gone through this before down here, and everybody kind of needs to stick together here and weather it out together.
Well, maybe a lot of people went to the shelter thinking this would be some kind of entertainment. They would be totally taken care of.
Perhaps.
It was free and provided by the government, and why not?
I think you're right.
How did they transport them? How did they get 1,000 people from one shelter to another?
Well, they brought in buses. Most of the buses in this area stopped running and transporting people to the emergency shelters around 9:30 tonight. But in order to transport all of those people over there, I guess they had to call them back out again.
Linda, they were taken to Boyd Anderson there in Broward. I wonder do you know how many people are at Boyd Anderson that they took?
A little look at what you might be seeing if you were in Florida last night.
O'clock in the Cutler Ridge area, Homestead area, Florida City area. That's where the eye will most likely make landfall, judging by all the information that's at hand right now. Penny, Joan?
Thank you, Steve. You know, we're already beginning to get reports of some major damage. We understand, we just got word that a transformer blew in downtown Fort Lauderdale. All of the street lights are apparently out. It's apparently just gone dark in downtown Fort Lauderdale. So, as I said, reports of major damage already coming in.
We've also got an update from the wire services. Dr. Sheets was telling us he had 1 death confirmed in the Bahamas in Luther Island. According to
really almost up to our knees. It just washed right past us. So there's apparently no telling when it is that some of the strongest waves and some of the strongest water is going to come ashore. The advice right now from police, obviously, they've been staying here in Boca Raton. They've been making sure that people don't come over to the barrier island. Please heed that advice. Don't come over here unless you absolutely have to. Back to you.
Dramatic stuff, and as you can see, the heavy winds are starting to hit the Florida coastline. We're going to go to a phone call with Mark.
County that Miami is located in. The Dade County authorities just said a few minutes ago that wherever you are at this hour, 2:35 in the morning in Miami, stay there. Don't go out anymore. It's too late for that.
Okay. CBS News correspondent Bernard Goldberg joining us from South Miami. Thanks a lot for being with us here on Up to the Minute.
Thank you.
So, fascinating breaking story will continue to follow throughout the course of the morning.
Yes, we will, and we'll be...
One is because of the way it's rotating, it's 15 or 17 miles an hour, and the winds are 130. In the storm, the total is going to be 145 on the top, where on the bottom it's going to be subtractive, so the total on the bottom is going to be 115. So you'd have a swing there, 30 miles an hour, top to bottom in the storm. Stronger on the top of the storm, weaker on the bottom of the storm, because the storm is moving forward at the same time the winds are blowing. And that's why we say the right side, or the top of the storm, is the strong side of the storm.
We promised earlier that Bob Sheets would be along in just a couple of minutes. He's taking a break, a well-deserved break, and he'll be along at the top of the hour, as he has always been throughout this.
Okay. All right, well, at 2 o'clock it was, let me confirm to be sure that I'm not misstating here, 60 miles, right, 60 miles and moving about 15 or...
Okay, and as we know now, it's actually 50 miles due east of Miami. Again, we're going to watch right now a tape of our 11 o'clock.
Oh, I see. So rather than the Dade-Broward line, does that bode a little bit worse for the Keys then? We're pretty concerned about that area.
Well, they're going to get more of an offshore flow and off of Florida Bay, so they're going to get some problems in the upper Keys as a result of that. But the worst part is, again, the onshore flow there on the north side, Key Biscayne, downtown Miami, here in Coral Gables, and so on northward into the Miami Beach area.
Okay, Dr. Sheets, thank you very much, and we'll check back with you in just a few minutes. I think now we have the opportunity to go live to our photographer, Ralph Rayburn, who is at Hallandale Beach Boulevard and A1A. Ralph, are you with us?
Okay, I'm not sure he's quite ready.
Yeah.
Okay, he's ready now.
Yeah.
There he is.
Ready, just ready. Ralph, what are you seeing? What are you hearing?
Well, I certainly hope you're seeing a picture at this point.
We do, yes, we do.
Yeah, that's the tower, and you're looking back, looking west right now. I'm going to come back to the truck for a second, get something to wipe the lens off from Adam Rice, and we'll take a little walk out here on the beach. Let me see. Okay. Pardon the darkness for a second there. We'll just keep moving
It
here.
looks pretty good, Ralph. Keep going.
Okay.
We can see well. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. How does it feel to you from the time that you showed us those other pictures?
I think I should start gaining weight because I feel like a kite here with this big yellow jacket on. It's starting to blow pretty strong. It's not just pushing me backwards right now. There's an empty lifeguard stand here. Hopefully I get a shot down here and show you some of the waves. I'm going to wipe the lens off one more time here. Hang on.
Well, while you're doing that, we have to point out that Ralph Rayburn is about, what would you say, Joan, 6'4", and definitely not a little guy, and he feels like he's being blown around like...
Throw a little light on here. Anyway, as you can see, the rain's coming almost due sideways now, right into the lens of the camera. I'm sure that Will Harbison, our operations manager, is going to be happy with the condition of this camera when we get done. I'll wipe the lens again here. Anyway, we're not going to hang here too long because we've been listening to Bob Sheets, and he knows more about this stuff than we do, but we wanted to give our viewers at home a chance to see what it's like for the people down here as I stumble over something.
As you're making your way back to wherever you're going, and we'll take whatever shots you can give us during that time, how was the driving out there at this point?
Well, Adam Rice, one of our live truck engineers who's operating this unit we're working from, pointed out some bus benches on Hallandale Beach Boulevard that had already been blown over by the wind. So the bus benches are made of all of concrete and some plywood. You got to figure that the winds are pretty strong to blow those things over.
You know, that rain looks almost like hail. Does it look that way to you there?
I'm sorry, I got to wipe the lens again. There's a tremendous amount of sand mixed with this rain right now, and it's whipping around here pretty strong. These, amazingly, what are these things called here?
Chaise lounges.
Yeah, thank you very much. Well, it's kind of hard.
That's a nice way of putting it.
They're strapped down, but none of them have started flying yet. We're not going to hang here too much longer, but we did want to give you guys a picture.
Okay, your wife, Jan, will be happy to hear that you're not going to hang there too much longer, but we certainly appreciate the pictures, Ralph, and we'll get back to you if you have anything else in a little while.
Okay. I've just been handed a piece of paper from our producer monitoring our wire services. We understand there was a big fire. This is a big fire at Northwest 172nd Avenue and Biscayne. It's a two-story building. This note says it will most likely have to burn to the ground, and they do think it was started by the hurricane. Whether it'll burn to the ground because no one can get to it or it's just not worth the effort, we don't know. I'm not sure what...
Thanks a lot, Steve. We'll get back to you in a few minutes. Right now, we are going to Carlos Harrison, who is live in Broward County at Hallandale Beach Boulevard and A18. Carlos, tell us.
We are out here at Hallandale Beach Boulevard. We just brought up some shots of what we...
Party, by the way, tonight.
Not a good idea.
Stay sober. At least stay sober.
Right. Chris Douglas is joining us now live from Hutchinson Island, and we're going to take a look a little bit further north and where John Gilbert just was and see what conditions are like there. Chris?
Yes, exactly right, Elizabeth. We're here at Hutchinson Island on Martin County, and there's a significant difference between what we're going through here and what John Gilbert and Eric Glasser and the people in Palm Beach County are going through. Certainly the wind is stronger than a normal night here in Martin County, but it's much less strong than down in Palm Beach County. Still, the wind is causing the surf action to pick up a little bit. I hope you can see out there into the water. Obviously, this could become much worse as the storm approaches closer to landfall. That raises the possibility of beach erosion, of course, and with that possibility comes the definite danger to turtle nests. We're still in turtle nesting season. There are a lot of eggs in the ground. If the wind and the waves get a little bit heavier than we are right now, we're going to lose some of those nests. Even more importantly, actually, people's homes along the coast are in danger, of course. Right now it doesn't look too bad, but again, as landfall approaches, things certainly could peak up here. But right now, we're suffering through some actually fairly light winds right now, Elizabeth.
Chris, this is Chandra talking to you. Have you experienced any of the rain? Because that seems to be moving up the coast.
The rain's been sporadic. Last time we talked to you guys, I was getting wet, but now I'm dry. It's not raining at all. There's some clouds moving through quickly right now overhead, but it's hard to predict when it's going to rain and when it's not, Chandra.
And have you seen anybody else on the beach?
Haven't seen no one else on the beach. There have been a couple of people driving along the beachfront roadways here. Apparently residents getting out at this point now, but no one has been on the beach, no.
Chris is relatively dry, so you can see Chris is in the Fort Pierce, well, he's in the Stewart area, I believe, Port St. Lucie area, in between where that area is dry. But you can see south of that, south of Jupiter, or south of Stewart rather, into Jupiter, heavy band of showers, one of the feeder bands, and then the farther south you go, you can see light rain between West Palm Beach and Lake Worth, heavier patches around Boca Raton, Fort Lauderdale.
Okay, right now the South County area, which we told you was probably going to feel the brunt of Hurricane Andrew as it came ashore as far as Palm Beach County is concerned, is definitely being felt here now. We've got a sustained wind of about 50 miles an hour. The rain is being driven by that wind. You can see the trees behind me along the shoreline. I'm actually being pushed by the wind, are feeling also the effects of it. Fortunately, where we are, there isn't much debris at this point. However, the sand is being pushed up above the seawall that we are standing on, so we're also getting sandblasted. I also want to walk over. What we've been trying to do tonight is stay under the protective cover, so to speak, of a pool deck, and I want to go ahead and point at that pool just to show you as a point of reference what the wind is doing. If you can zoom in there, Terry Swan, please, photographer Terry Swan, on the edge of the pool, you'll see the waves actually jumping in the pool. Boy, if that doesn't give you an idea of what's going on over the ocean right now, really nothing will. The storm surge, as we can tell right now, we're told for the Boca Raton area, is supposed to reach the mark of about 4, 6, possibly 8 feet. We went down onto the beach a little while ago. We were standing about 15 feet away from the edge of the water, and at that point, one wave came right up and came right over our ankles, really almost up to our knees. It just washed right past us. So there's apparently no telling when it is that some of the strongest waves and some of the strongest water is going to come ashore. The advice right now from police, obviously, they've been staying here in Boca Raton. They've been making sure that people don't come over to the barrier island. Please heed that advice. Don't come over here unless you absolutely have to. Back to you.
Evacuation centers have sprung up all over southern Florida. Reporter Monica Fisher is at a West Palm Beach center, and she joins us now. Hello, Monica.
Hi, how are you? This is the largest of the city shelters. Right now, about 1,000 people here. More people still trickling in. They've set up
to what we would know as Broward Boulevard, along that area. Now, for the most part, they're hit-and-miss areas, not exactly what you would say a massive area. There might be a 5 or 6 block area without power, then another 5 or 6 block area with power, so it's almost at intervals. We have spoken with some Florida Power and Light officials, and they're basically telling us when they have a lot of transformers go or when they have a lot of power lines go down, the way they're going to deal with it is they're just going to go ahead and let that entire area shut off. Unless there's a real emergency, they're not going to be sending crews in there with these winds that we're going to be experiencing now to try and put the telephone poles or the electric poles back up or fix the transformers. They'll do it after the hurricane is gone, and that would be sometime tomorrow around probably 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock.
Is it the winds that are causing these transformer explosions, do you think? What is causing it? It's obviously from the hurricane, but what part of the hurricane is causing these things to happen?
You know, we experienced a couple of these. We got to see firsthand a little while ago when we were driving down here. Actually, it's not a little while ago anymore, about 2 or 3 hours ago. We actually saw them blow. It seemed to us at the time the only possible explanation for it could have been the wind, because there was nothing else happening at the time other than the wind. So
hours ago. We also have a report of a large fire at Northeast 172nd and Biscayne Boulevard. And I think this would be part of the evacuation area, actually. Don't know what building this is. Well, apparently it was a building where boats were being built, some sort of a boat building. Don't know what it is. Might have been a marina, I'm not sure. Northeast 172nd and Biscayne Boulevard, apparently a large fire, and apparently the fire department is not going to be responding to this at this time, so if there's a fire, it's probably going to just have to burn itself out.
We've just been told it's Mako Marina, where that fire that you're speaking of was. Just recognizing some of those pictures that Ralph just showed us, Ralph Raymond we refer to. That's the area right behind, not far from Channel 7, actually. That's around 163rd and Collins Avenue, where some of these pictures are taken. And again, you know, you really don't get the full brunt of the hurricane or the full brunt even of the storm in these pictures. These pictures,
the bridge going over to Holliver.
These pictures, you look at them right now, they don't look any different than a thunderstorm in South Florida on any particular day. I mean, there's nothing extremely dramatic about these pictures. An overturned tree in South Florida is not a revelation, as a matter of fact. Jillian Ware has been following the situation for us for a while now. You know, you can't help but wonder, Jillian, if the folks in the Keys, who we were always so concerned about, actually, because of the position of the hurricane, the way it's coming in, as far down as Key West, they've kind of lucked out, haven't they?
They certainly have, and when you consider that on the south side of the eye, it's one of the weaker areas, if you can call any area a weak area within a hurricane. Rick, you're probably right in your assessment, because again, as Michael was mentioning when he was reporting from the Nassau area, and he was saying, you know, it was incredibly somber. You would expect something a little more dramatic.
Good news that the eye is moving south and the main part of the storm is moving south. But the bad news from that, from a Miami standpoint, is that the most severe winds and the strongest rains generally are in the northern part of the storm. So therefore, the strongest winds and the heaviest rain could come right down onto the downtown area of Miami and Miami Beach.
Bruce Hall, thank you. Be careful out there. We will try to get back to you a little later. The Nightside returns with more news in a moment.